Take a look at these 6 games above my screen. These are the 6 games that Barcelona has played against big clubs this season. And so far, the statistics show that 0 goals and 0 assists for Yamal in these 6 games. One thing that people, rival fans, fail to understand is that this boy is just 18. I'm using the word boy because he's still a boy. He's just 18 years old. So for there to be so much buzz and so much criticism and so much talk surrounding an 18-year-old boy, that means he's doing something good. He's doing something right. Just to say that he's not scoring in this game show that these people are definitely scared of him. They're definitely scared of the greatness that is coming upon us. Because if you look at these 6 games, 2 games against Madrid, 2 games against Atletico Madrid, and 1 against Chelsea, and 1 against PSG. The first was against PSG, and they lost that game 2-1. And they started the game well. Barcelona started that game well. They even scored first before PSG scored and finally won the game. So one thing you must understand is that they played the first half well. He was doing wonderful thing. He dribbled past Nuno Mendes a couple of times, and it was very, very okay. But the second half, the whole team totally collapsed. And not only Lamine Yamal, you must understand that football is a game of numbers. If majority of the team are performing, then definitely there are high chances that the team will definitely get a good result. But that was not the case. The whole Barcelona crumbled in that game against PSG, and PSG eventually went on to steal the victory in the dying embers of that game. That is one thing you must understand, because Barcelona, they were already settling for a draw, or maybe they themselves could nick the 3 point in the dying minute, which they never which they were unable to do. And you must understand that the same PSG themselves, they are in a playoff in the Champions League, and Barcelona are qualified directly to the round of 16. And the PSG that defeated the Barcelona at home are vying for the round of 16 in order to get to the round of 16 via playoff. So you must still understand that the PSG, not that they are scintillating themselves, so they too, they've had a very bad season themselves. So that aside, so the game against Chelsea, you must understand that prior to the game against Atletico Madrid, where Barcelona lost 4-0, that game against Chelsea was the worst performance that Barcelona has ever put together as a team under Hansi Flick, because inside 20 minutes, they were supposed to be 3-0 down. That was how bad they were. So now, if you start a game in such a bad manner, on a back foot, so how will the big players have the opportunity to affect the game in a positive way? It will almost be impossible. That is one thing you must understand. So singling out Yamal alone for the loss is so wrong, because in the first half, Lamine Yamal had a rating of 7 points. That was how good he was. He bypassed Cucurella a couple of times, but he gave a good ball to Ferran Torres that blew the ball over the bar. So how is that the fault of Lamine Yamal? Had it been Ferran Torres scored an open net before Chelsea started scoring the goals, then the game would have panned out to be different. So that is one thing you must understand, that Lamine Yamal always give these good balls to these attackers to put at the back of the net. But what do they end up doing? They end up wasting those chances. So that is not the fault of Lamine Yamal. There's little to what he can do when he has given you the ball. The decision solely rests on you as an attacker to finish the ball. So he played a very good first half. He had a 7-point rating in that game before the great Araujo got sent off in the first half when they were 2-0 down already. So what could he have done in the second half? Carry a 9-man team to win against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge? So there was minimal or nothing he could do in that game. So blaming him is out of the question. So we move on to the game, the first leg against Madrid. What could he have done? He tried his best. In that game, there was no Rafinha. Now, what Lamine Yamal does is to take defenders away from other players to shine. That is what he does. If Lamine Yamal is playing in a particular game and Rafinha is there or Rashford is there, Lamine Yamal attracts at least 3 defenders on him or 3 players on him whenever he has the ball. That creates space for other attackers to run into and thrive. That is how you see Rafinha performing in the big games, because the attention of the majority of the defenders are always on Lamine Yamal. So when the attention is on him, then other attackers have opportunity to run into spaces and cause havoc. So you must understand that in that first leg against Madrid, there was no Rafinha. Rafinha leads the press from the front, then others follow. Then if the press is on, then you understand that if there is a turnover, then Lamine Yamal will now lead the counter in order to be devastated, in order to be devastated, in order to have the devastative effect against the opposing team. So that is what I'm trying to say in essence, that in that game, there was no Rafinha, and Rashford was not up to par in that game. So if majority of the attackers were bad, what could Lamine Yamal by himself do? Nothing. Then you talk about the game against Atletico Madrid, the first leg in the La Liga game, whereby they won 3-0. 3-1. Rafinha scored. Rafinha was available for that game. He scored because of the presence of Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal gave some scintillating passes that were begging to be finished by Ferran Torres and his elder brother Lewandowski, but they refused to finish it. So how is that the fault of Yamal, that nobody was unable to finish those chances? He did his best by by providing the ball on a platter. Then it's now left for the attacker to bury such chances. Then when it was in that game, like I said earlier, it took the attention of majority of the players away from Rafinha, for Rafinha to be able to have a grip in that on that match rather. Also, you must understand his impact. His impact is both off and on the ball. That is one thing you must understand. And the dribbling, he has one of the highest. He has the highest ratio in terms of dribbling in the league this season. So if he's not doing something right, then that should not be the case. So you must understand that this boy has impact both off and on the ball. So if he's not doing anything with the ball, just by holding the ball, it takes attention away from other attackers to thrive, and which was the same thing that happened in the Super Copa final against Madrid, whereby Rafinha scored 2 goals. Why did that happen? Because Rafinha was left unmarked by the defenders of Madrid, because they were concentrating on trying to stop Lamine Yamal, which is a huge positive. Because if Lamine Yamal was not on that field, definitely Rafinha becomes the next person that will create too much havoc against Madrid. Then it will be the next person to hold down strategically by the Madrid defense. But that was not the case, because the primary suspect is Lamine Yamal. Everybody wants to stop him because he's so good at just 18, that bringing Lamine Yamal down is seen by opposing team as a win. Even though we don't win the game, if we can stop Lamine Yamal from scoring, it's a win for us, because that on its own is a project that the team and the coach that leads this team always derive joy and pride in. That is what you saw in the game against Atletico Madrid, whereby Simeone was very happy that Lamine Yamal could not do anything. And instead of that, was not even supposed to be the case, because the whole failure in that particular game against Atletico Madrid was not down to just Lamine Yamal. It was down to everybody, both the coach, both the pitch they played that football in. The pitch was in a very, very bad condition, and the selection from the coach was so terrible. So everybody has so much to give in connection to that failed result against Atletico Madrid. So for Simeone to single out Lamine Yamal goes to show and consolidate what I'm trying to say, that stopping Yamal is a project to these opposing managers and these opposing teams. So they see it on its own as a win. So you must understand that this Lamine Yamal is a work in progress. As time goes on, we find way to escape this attention that has been put on him by opposing players and their managers in order to create more opportunities. That is why you can't compare Lamine Yamal to any winger or any dribbler as it is. because Lamine Yamal has understand the fact that I can't always create chances to score for myself. But if I'm being defended by 3 people at all times, or defended against by 4 people, what can I do is to make those long passes to create opportunities for others. And that is what he has been doing successfully and successively in several games. So you must understand that he is one of the highest goal scorer in La Liga, and is still the highest creator in terms of assists, still in the same La Liga. So you cannot overemphasize the importance of this boy in world football. What I just know that is stopping Lamine Yamal from winning this year's Ballon d'Or is the inconsistency in that Barcelona's high line. Once that can be taken out of their play, then they can limit the number of goals they concede. Then leave the work for Barcelona and leave the work for Lamine Yamal. They will create more opportunities for others and Lamine Yamal himself to score, so that at the end of the season he will be on the podium for the best Ballon d'Or player, or as the Ballon d'Or winner, as it should be. So it's just for Barcelona to show off their defensive line and give him opportunity to create havoc in the opposing team, and that's all. So saying this comment is very, very wrong, because you are talking about a world-class player, a world-class talent, a generational talent in Lamine Yamal. People should not downplay him, whether you are a supporter of Barcelona or not. You must understand greatness when you see one. You must be able to identify greatness when you see one, because tomorrow might be the turn of your team to unearth a gem rather, like Lamine Yamal. So what will you do, or how will you feel if others talk down on a gem like this that is playing for your team? That is one thing you must not take for granted.